Welcome to ThinkTech on OC16, Hawaii's weekly newscast on things that matter to tech and to Hawaii. I'm Jay Fidell.
And I'm Roger Ulveling.
In our show tonight, we'll cover the Hawaii State Science and Engineering Fair at the Convention Center last week.
600 kids took part in the fair, and some of the exhibits they made were no less than extraordinary.
In the morning of the first day of the fair, the judges walked the floor and examined the hundreds of student exhibits on display.
In the afternoon, the judges met the semifinalists in order to select the finalists. While they were doing that, we visited the exhibit room.
First, we had a tour of the room with the CEO of the Hawaii Academy of Science, Kerry Kakazu.
Okay, this is our 55th annual Hawaii State Science and Engineering Fair. And what you see around here are displays of about 600 projects from middle and high school students doing mostly research projects of their own choosing.
So what happened this morning?
So this morning we had the opening ceremony. The governor came by and gave everybody a big pep talk. We did our usual presentations and just told students about the judging process. And this morning from 9:30 to 12:30, we had about 200 judges come through and evaluate all the projects.
Wow, 200.
Yeah.
And those are serious judges. From what walks of life do they come?
Yeah, they come from academic fields. A lot of them are professors at the university levels. For a lot of our engineering projects, we have professional engineers that work in the profession now, former teachers, various walks of life, but they all know their subject matter, and so they take it very seriously, as do the students.
What about the celebrity judges? What do they do?
Yeah, we also have another program, Celebrity Judge Program. We just get people who are interested in science education, and they come by. They don't have to do any formal evaluation, but they get to interact with the students, see their enthusiasm, and the students love it because they get another chance to explain their projects and talk about their work.
Okay, so right now it's not quite 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
At 2 o'clock, something is going to happen in this very hall.
Right.
What is that going to be?
Okay, so this morning, as you mentioned, we had the first round of judging where all the projects got judged. Right now, below us, category judges or the head judges are compiling all those results, and they'll pick semifinalists to go through round 2 of judging. And from that group, we're going to pick the winners and finalists for all the various prizes.
So how many semifinalists will there be?
It varies every year. I would guess probably somewhere on the order of about 100.
So I hope we get a chance to talk to some of them. But in
Yeah.
the meantime, can you give us a little tour? What do we got here?
Okay, so the room's divided up into 2 halves. This is part of the junior projects, or middle school projects. And the seniors are on that side, and the rest of the juniors are on this side. So as you can see, we actually have a little bit more middle school projects than high school projects.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all broken up by categories. So as you wander around, what you'll see is every category, and there's 17 of them that align with what the International Science Fair uses, such as plant sciences, behavioral sciences, engineering, environmental science, various categories, and the projects are broken down by that.
Well, I'm judging for some awards that the employees at BAE Systems downtown Honolulu want to give, and we're very pleased to be able to support the kids in the science fair. This is very hard. There's a lot of good projects.
Here's somebody who's actually looking at prosthetics for canines, for dogs.
Oh.
So it's a myoelectric limb. So it's electrical impulses that will control muscle contractions for dogs. This is a technology one you'd probably be interested in. I saw this one actually at the Honolulu District Fair, and I guess a lot of people are doing this. There's a student that is using the Connect module from the Xbox to do various kinds of different things that are not necessarily related to gaming.
Look at how much work is going into these things. Yeah. Gee whiz. And it's so professional. Look at the graphics on them. Mm-hmm. A lot of ocean and environmental things.
Yeah, this year actually, again, we kind of get an idea of what's going on by where we have shortages for judging.
Yeah.
And engineering was a big category this year. We got a lot more projects than normal. And environmental science was the other one. And I think a lot of that has to do with the big interest in sustainability and energy independence. In the medical field, the student who was interviewed actually for the Star Advertiser article this past week, and she actually studied liver cancer and was motivated because her father, I believe it was, suffered from that.
At the end of the day, all science is personal.
Yep. So we're walking right now through some of the different biomedical projects, so you can see a lot of work, and I'm always amazed by this, where students are actually studying at the molecular level doing gene analysis. For example, this one here is looking at gene variation. Okay, we just got through, again, as we mentioned, a brief tour of the senior level.
Okay.
This is junior or middle school, and I think we're looking here, these are some of the engineering type projects.
They take it very seriously, don't they?
Yep. Well, actually, I saw this at a robotics competition over the weekend. They were students, and they have a little aquaponic project going, another science thing, and they have problems with birds, so they rigged up this little Lego robot.
Shoo the birds away.
Flaps their wings, and it's supposed to simulate a little robotic owl. Yeah. It's cute. Oh, here's another one that I actually saw at the Honolulu District Fair. Very interesting. He actually studied and looked at the types of pool lane dividers for swimming events, and was measuring their effect on how much of a wake is generated. So, you know, even a little thing like that, you can analyze scientifically.
Yeah.
We have a student here who made a solar oven.
A solar oven.
Yeah, so this collects heat energy, and with all the different reflectors, it's kind of like a magnifying glass.
Yeah.
Concentrates all of the reflections onto a point, so that point gets really hot, that you can actually cook something.
What do we got here, Kerry?
Okay, these are more of the junior level research projects, and I think we're in the sort of engineering section again. So you've seen a lot about cars and alternative fuels and energy. As I mentioned, we have quite a bit of projects with aquaponics, which is a big topic right now for food production. And that's the combination of growing plants and fishes together, and basically simulating a natural cycle. The plants provide oxygen for the fishes through their waste produce fertilizer for the plants. So you have very little input from humans that has to go into that system, and yet produce both plant material and fish material.
There's one called Kailua has been slimed.
Oh, yeah, that's probably about the algae blooms. Okay. I hear the judges coming back in, so I think they're getting ready to start the second round.
Okay, perfect timing.
All right.
So the doors have opened, and it sounds like people are coming in, and there's kids here.
Yep.
So tell us what's going to happen exactly now.
So as I mentioned, what happened was the judges have obviously done their compiling, and so they've selected their list of semifinalists, and it was posted right outside. So students have come up and looked at that list, and if they're on the list, they're back in here, and judges will come around again. And so that's going to start right now. They'll get done with everything today. So out of this group of people, they'll get, the judges will have to reconvene again later in the afternoon and say, okay, these are our top 5 or whatever number they need for each category. And then out of those categories, we will present a top 5 from the Hawaii Academy of Science tomorrow at the award ceremony. Some of these students have already gotten prizes and judged as their top projects at their districts, and so they will be going to the International Science Fair directly as a district winner. So we'll be selecting an additional up to 5 projects to represent just the state in addition to those district winners.
And you're a product of the science fair.
Yeah, actually, 1974, I was lucky enough to have won the state science fair and did travel to the international fair. Our board chairman of the board, Neil Atibara, was I think 1986 or something like that. He also went to the international fair, so we're back here serving it because we all believe that this is a great program for all students.
Thank you, Kerry.
All right, thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jay.
Then we talked with some of the semifinalist winners that were waiting to meet with the judges.
I'm here as one of the head judges for the senior engineering projects.
How has it been?
It's been rather hectic. There's been more junior high school and senior high school projects, so we need more judges. So if you know any, send them over.
Well, that's a great condition, isn't it? So tell me the obligations of a judge.
Well, pretty simple. You just have to have as much enthusiasm from science as these kids do. And
with a little push and a little mentoring, no telling where these kids are going to go.
My project is about arsenic. It's a poisonous metal in Hawaii's hyperaccumulators, watercress and watabi. So I tested 5 areas, and in one area there was about 150 to 200 parts per million arsenic, which means there's a lot of arsenic in the ground. And the watercress accumulated a lot of that because it's a known hyperaccumulator.
What school?
Hilo Intermediate.
Wonderful. Good for you. Tell us how it feels to be selected as a semifinalist.
Well, although it's not the actual finalist position, I actually feel accomplished that I actually, just passed the first round at least. Seeing my number up on that list, it's like,
Wow, good feeling. Yeah. So, what school?
Kakazu Intermediate,
Okay, what grade?
7th.
Okay, tell us about your project.
Well, basically, it's called Eye Trickster, which refers to optical illusions. And so I wondered which subjects of age, gender, dominant eye, and dominant brain would seek the nature of the optical illusions, the fastest. We could apply this project to real life situations.
How did you get to be so interested in science?
We were both in a summer program at Kamehameha Schools. It was the Kamehameha Summer Science Institute.
Okay, well, it strikes me that this is pretty sophisticated genetic variation between wetland and dryland kalo, and genetic diversity of populations and eradication techniques of nutgrass. There are good things about nutgrass.
Actually, there's a lot of medicinal uses, and you can use it for like muscle relaxant, and you can use the tuber extracts for like oils, and you can eat it.
My project was on the genetic variation between wetland and dryland kalo, and I started this project because I wanted to see if there was a genetic reason for the physical differences between the kalo.
The thing that scientists like most is talking to other scientists.
I can understand that.
So will you do it again next year?
I think so.
Yeah, if I can.
So this is what, your third or fourth science fair?
This is my third science fair, yes.
And you're working on something the same or different than in the past?
This is different from last year, yes.
Okay. So tell us what you're working on.
Okay. So basically, I created a new toroidal particle model to derive a mass ratio formula to calculate the mass of elementary particles. And the results are very new and fascinating. Every single particle mass and mass ratio can be written down as fractions of integers and a power of pi. And there's a periodicity amongst the elementary particles by pi. So knowing the structural pattern, I was able to create a table that can be described as a periodic system of elementary particles.
Malcolm and I fully understand everything you've said.
Totally.
Why are you doing this?
I'm in the science fair because, well, of course, I love science. And this experience is something that cannot be done in just the classroom.
So tell us about your project.
Oh, so basically RREB1 is a gene coding for a protein for the RAS responsive element binding protein 1. So hence the very neat little acronym to avoid that mouthful. So RREB1, the one that I'm studying in mice, there was a spontaneous mutation that arose in the specific mouse type that I was studying in this RREB1 gene. So this gene acts as a transcription factor, which is a protein that binds to DNA and enables the transcription of DNA into RNA, which is like all the coding parts of genes that eventually gets made into protein. So it's really important that this transcription pathway proceeds normally for cells to function correctly. This project really made me interested in neuroscience, and studying these neurodegenerative diseases kind of fostered my passion that I had already, or interest in the brain. So definitely in college, because I'm a senior now, so next year I definitely want to go to college and be able to pursue a similar project, maybe in Alzheimer's research, which is one aspect that...
Will this take you to medical school?
Yeah. Kind of my big career goal is to be a neuroscience researcher and a geriatric doctor.
Oh, how
just
nice.
Because, yeah, of course.
That's very kind of you, actually.
I love. I volunteer at a geriatric department at Kuakini, and I really love it. I mean, I love interacting with the elderly, and I would like to help them.
What gave you the idea to do this project about arsenic in rice?
I got this idea at the beginning when I was looking for a project to do. We came across this article about how scientists were finding arsenic in white rice from different places. So I like to eat rice myself, and I usually eat it a lot. So I decided which rice I wanted to do this project to see which rice I should eat and which rice I shouldn't eat as much of.
Tell us about the project.
So basically, I wanted to test three things: the time of day, the angle, and distance away from a photovoltaic cell. So basically, I had three hypotheses. Hypothesis number 1 was that if I move the light source further away from the solar panel, then it will decrease the amount of energy output.
You looked at the lane lines and you said not all lane lines are created equal. Some of them are more efficient than others. So you wanted to study which the most efficient were and why. So tell us about your project.
Well, I decided to focus on the size of the lane line, of the ring. So I wanted to test the height and speed of the wave. So first I recorded the height. So I put this measuring stick in the lane next to a lane with swimmers swimming by. And at home, I watched it second by second in slow motion and saw how high the waves went and recorded it 24 times. And so in that experiment, the bigger lane line reduced the wave height more than the smaller lane line. And for the speed, I estimated how big in centimeters the space that the wave needed to travel was. And then after that, I recorded the starting time and ending time of each wave. And I divided the centimeters by that to get the centimeters per second. So in that experiment, the bigger lane line slowed down the waves more than the smaller lane line too. And so my hypothesis was correct because I guessed that the bigger lane line reduced the speed and height more than the smaller lane line.
Tell us how the judge system works. Because there's a lot of judges around, and frankly, they make me a little nervous.
Yeah, you know.
They're judging. They're actively judging, even as we stand here.
I think both you and I would be intimidated if a group of them came over and asked us the questions that they're asking these students right here. It is really impressive. And I got to say that group of judges are, they're the top science people on the island by far. These are the professors, the deans, the chancellors from Manoa. These are leaders of local business. These are people who are shakers and movers in the science field who have shown up today to do that. And yes, some of them are very intelligent and intimidating at times. And that is exactly what my job is to work with them and turn this into a wonderful experience for everybody. And every year we seem to do that.
The fair was a stunning success this year, and the kids seemed more amazing than ever. Their projects were spectacular, and their presentations were world-class. Hawaii has incredible kids, and their scientific talent and personal appeal shows very clearly every year at the science fair.
Sure, a lot of these kids will go to great schools on the mainland and wind up having great careers in science on the mainland. And that's good, but also a mixed bag since we lose them from Hawaii.
But there are also lots of kids who do well in the science fair and who stay in Hawaii, or who come back to Hawaii to make their lives here. And that's great too. Win or lose, the important thing is that all of their lives have been changed and improved by the experience of having participated in the fair.
Now for our ThinkTech calendar of events going forward.
ThinkTech's 4 to 5 p.m. weekday drive time radio series on KGU 760 AM continues this week, covering business, Asia, tech, energy, the arts, and government. Tune in to 760 AM every weekday at 4 p.m. and raise your awareness on ThinkTech Radio.
On April 26th, the Hawaii Venture Capital Association and ThinkTech will present a luncheon panel program called Getting Around in Hawaii, The Press Weighs In on Rail, featuring remarks by Mayor Peter Carlisle and 2 blue ribbon panels of journalists who have been covering the subject. It's part of our ongoing transportation series, Sign up for these programs on hvca.org. And now, here's Bill Spencer, president of the Hawaii Venture Capital Association, with this week's Spensation.
Well, I couldn't help but looking at the newspaper, actually, Bill, and you were there. What happened?
Well, Jay, we received one of our key federal permits. It's the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit that's an EPA permit. It's ministered by the State Department of Health. And this permit went through a rigorous public review, response to comments, took over a year to prosecute, and it's a major milestone for the company. It really is going to be helpful for us in raising the funds we need, and also it's essentially a green light that we can count on to help us with the project.
It's great. So you go further down the track, you sort of ratchet yourself into a better position with each permit.
That's right, and we've essentially got one more to go, which is the Army Corps of Engineers. It's been under review since September 2010, and so we feel we're very close to that milestone as well.
Well,
So
congratulations.
Thank you
Bill.
very much.
That's terrific. This is so now we're getting close to actual fish.
Well, it's still going to take us about 3 years to develop and deploy our first ocean sphere, and then we'll be testing it thoroughly and making sure it works the way we expect. And then we'll introduce the king ahi tuna that we're about to spawn in our Nelha research facility. And if all goes well, within 3 years, I'll be sharing a plate of sashimi with you.
Okay, I can hardly wait.
Me too.
I can taste it now. So what are the lessons here for the investing public? What are the lessons for entrepreneurs who would like to get into aquaculture? What are the lessons for the state?
I think first and foremost, especially for investors in what I consider a socially responsible project like this that has tremendous global potential, is patience. Essentially from the very beginning, we were dealing with the permitting authorities. We had to do an environmental impact statement, which was a 1.5 year long process, a cultural assessment, all in order to get our conservation district use permit, which was the threshold for obtaining our lease. The lease I'm actually just getting signed this month.
Congratulations on that too.
That was authorized back in October of 2010, but it's taken essentially a year or so to work out all the details, get a TMK for our lease site, an appraisal, everything that makes it an official state lease.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's just this federal permits. Now that the EPA permit is done, we think that the regulators will have an opportunity to make all their monitoring requirements consistent so that we're not addressing 5 different
sure.
monitoring requirements. We've been held to an extremely high standard. We've met all the tests. We've engaged the public and responded to their concerns. We've done everything we're supposed to do. The general public is also very much behind us. They support this project. They know it's the right thing to do, and we really appreciate that support.
And here's our co-working entrepreneurs, Rachung Fujihira and Tony Stanford, to keep us current on their latest adventures at the Box Jelly.
This week, we really worked hard on establishing with our community what our tagline is, work the way you live.
Yes.
And really in all sense of the words, we hosted events, we've been joining other people in other events, and really moving forward in different things. Everything from polo to board meetings. I'll let you explain board meetings.
Board meetings. So for the past, I guess 3 weeks now, we've been hosting board meetings in the morning. So we do a dawn patrol 6 a.m. We go out to Ala Moana and we surf. And it's been a long time since I've surfed, so I'm kind of like relearning the skill. But it's really fun, and we have a bunch of people. We're up to like 5 board members now. And we get out there and we have a little bit of fun, and then we go and do some work. So it's really work the way you live.
So it's really encompassing what we're about, and it's really it's starting to add new members to it, and it's gaining traction, and it's starting to reflect in the brand that we're holding. Also, what we did last week, we came to the opening day at North Shore for the polo which was a great turnout. There was about, 900 people there?
Yeah, a lot of people.
There was a good chunk of people out there, and it was a great show, and everyone that came up repeatedly throughout the week thanked us for bringing them out there, which would mean guaranteed the next 3 months of enjoyment of working with us. So, it's just been really great fun with that, moving forward with that.
Yeah.
So that's something we're looking to trying to do at least once a month during the polo season.
It's really kind of showing how we're kind of growing into more than a space, but into a community and a lifestyle brand. And a lot of the direction that we're going to be going. Speaking of branding, I spent a lot of time this week working with our designer, coming up with ideas, looking through fonts, so we'll be doing new logos, we'll be doing new websites, we'll be doing new pictures, so everything will be brand new for the new space. So it's something to look forward to, and it's going to be meaningful.
Yes, this is something going off of really curating the community. When you take them outside of the elements of we work with such a wide range of people, everything from video to telecommuters to startups, and we bring them out to something that's ours. They all connect with each other on their own way, and watching that happen, we can step back and they will move forward, and that's something that will make it even stronger.
We'll be right back to wrap up this week's edition of ThinkTech. But first, we want to thank our underwriters.
Thanks to the Shidler Family Foundation, which supports a number of educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including ThinkTech.
Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Miko on Maui and Helco on the Big Island are deeply committed to the communities they serve.
Galen Ho is a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company, and CEO of CBI Polymers, a tech company in Hawaii. Okay, Roger, that wraps up this week's edition of ThinkTech. Remember, you can watch ThinkTech on OC16 several times every week. Can't get enough of it, just like Roger does. For additional times, check out OC16.tv.
You bet, Jay. For lots more ThinkTech videos and for underwriting and sponsorship opportunities on ThinkTech on OC16, visit thinktechhawaii.com. Be a sponsor or a volunteer and help us reach Hawaii.
I'm Jay Fidell. Thanks so much for joining us on ThinkTech. You can watch this show throughout the week and tune in next Sunday evening for our next weekly episode.
I'm Roger Ulveling. Aloha, everyone.